Welcome guys. It's time for tip of the week. Let's start with tip number 4. We are going to learn today about something called as data validations. Data validation is one of the most extensively used feature in especially big data with respect to let's say product database or a company database or an employee database, wherein the data size is quite big and the chances where the mistakes occur are also quite high. In such places, data validations are used to minimize the type of errors that can come. So there are various kinds of errors. There are errors which are done while making a data entry, or there are errors which occur after a data is entered and probably due to mistakes in formula or something else. Data validation specifically helps us stop these errors even before they occur. Let's look at an example of data validation that I have done here on sheet number 2. I'll be attaching the sheet on the description. A link for this sheet will be mentioned in the description so that you can practice the same. Let's look at this example. I have mentioned in the sheet 2 certain questions which are mentioned in the column B. I have left the column A blank, so just forget about it. In the column C, there are certain values which are incorporated. So I'm just going to delete those values and let's see how the data validation is applied here. The first thing it's asking me is for my name. I'm going to just enter my name simply. There is no data validation in this particular cell. The next cell, the moment I take my cursor to the next cell, it is giving me a hint, telling me to select a value between 1 and 3. And if I select any other value, let's say 5, it is going to give me a pop-up error. And these pop-up errors are customized. You can customize these kind of errors so as to mention that kind of data you want in that particular kind of cell. So either I can hit retry and mention another value, let's say 2 in this case. No error pops up because it has accepted the data now. Now it is asking me what is your age. Now the age limit is 18 plus years old. So I am going to enter, let's say 12. It's going to give me a mistake again because of the restriction that I have mentioned over there. Again, I'm going to hit a retry and let's say I'm going to put an age of 75. Again, now it is going to give me an error and it says ages between 18 and 65 are only the accepted ages for the documentation. So in this case, again, I'm going to hit enter and enter the age, let's say 34. Mention your city. Now city, something like I would like to mention Dubai. Doesn't work, right? Reason being, data validations also help us create a drop-down list of existing values. These existing values are located onto another sheet, specifically called as your master sheet. And in the master sheet, you can create such kind of data sets and call them up in a drop-down list. I can select any value from here and your data validation is used in this case. So let's try and create the same properties in the adjacent cell in the column D. So in the column D, I'm going to try and apply the same data validations that I have applied in column number C. The first column, that is D1, doesn't have any data validation, so let's leave it as it is. Move on to the next cell, that is D2. In the cell D2, I want a data validation specifying that it should allow only any values of whole numbers between 1 and 3. So what I'm going to do is first go to my data tab. The data tab we can see on the top over here. In the data tab, I am going to go and find the option called as data validation. So if you can see the option quite clearly, data validation is present over here. So we are going to find the option data validation. Inside the option data validation, I am going to find the data validation tab inside it. If everybody can see this particular option, the data validation tab gives you 3 tabs. One is the setting, second is the input message, third is the error message. In the settings, in the validation criteria, you will find something called as allow. In allow, you will have to select, in this case, a whole number. I want to allow a whole number between the values 1 and let's say 3. Input message. Input message are the snippets, or you could say the hints that you get when a cursor is moved on or a cell is particularly highlighted. So you can mention over here, enter a value between 1 and 3. And the error message is something which arises when an error occurs. You have made an invalid entry. So these are the two things that we have done. Whole number, allow between minimum 1 and maximum 3. In the input message, enter a value between 1 and 3. In the error message, you have made an invalid entry. You can further describe your error message if you have a specific kind of an error in mind. The next data validation is for the age, which is 18 plus years old. So again, we are going to go to the data validation tab, select data validation from here. I'm going to the settings tab. I'm going to select whole numbers. I'm going to select between 18 and let's say 65. Or you can do a simple, if you just want to calculate values greater than 18, so greater than 18. This is also a valid thing. Values, enter a value greater than 18. And in the error, you can mention value entered is incorrect. If this option will appear only if an error occurs. There you go. Just give an OK and come out. In the third part of drop-down list, that is data validation, we are going to learn something about creating a drop-down list. For a drop-down list, we are required to have a source list prepared someplace. So in this case, in the sheet 3, I have created a list of few cities. Not more than 8-10 values I have put. You can have hundreds of values, no doubt on that. In this case, I have put some 8 values in sheet number 3. I'll go back to my cell. In my cell, that is D4, select my cell D4, go to the data validation tab again. And this time, I'm going to select in allow, I'm going to select the option list. And when it asks you for something called as a source, I'm going to click on the small arrow sign you can see on the top over here. I'm going to click on this arrow sign. The moment I click on the arrow sign, I can go to my sheet 3 and just select the entire data set that I have in place. Once that is done, I'm going to hit enter or simply click an OK sign. There you go. Your list of cities are now available through data validation on your particular cell. So let's try and check these out. I'm going to enter a name. Select any values. Let's say I enter the value 4. It's going to give me an error. I'm going to enter the value 2 again. No error pop-ups. What is your age? It is asking me for age. If I give an age of let's say 20 or let's say less than 20 or 17, it's again going to give me an error. If any age above let's say 56, it's not going to give me an error. Again, I'm going to select a particular city. It's not going to give me an error. So there you go. The data validation has been created and applied on cells. So there are various kinds of data validation and different kinds of techniques you can use in data validation, which we'll be looking at while doing some interesting projects in some future videos. So please stay tuned to the Excel channel that we have. We'll be doing a lot more examples like these, and at the same time, stay home, stay safe. Don't forget to like and subscribe our videos. Ciao.